Crimes with a Twist by MJ.
So we're doing something different. We see everybody do their true crime and their take on all these different cases and serial killers. And one of the first ones that we wanted to do was Jeffrey Dahmer, which he did the killing spree of 14 to 15 people from... No, it was 1978, I believe, is when he started.
Okay.
So he was born to Joyce and Lionel Dahmer, and some things that we found out about his mother is that she abused prescription drugs, so she was pretty much passed out. Yeah, she was an addict, and she was passed out throughout the night. So while Lionel was out working, providing for the family, she was at home dealing with herself. And everyone said the same consensus that Jeffrey Dahmer was the quiet kid, the one that joined the military, got kicked out for drinking.
Lack of self-esteem.
Lack of self-esteem, of course. So he watched a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we found interesting was that he was let go or wasn't investigated when he got pulled over, when there was a body smell, like a body odor in his car.
There was a stench in the car when he got pulled over.
And I think when was that? In the
That
78?
was his first killing that he did.
Yeah.
That he almost got caught, but the cops didn't investigate the smell, so he got away.
So that kind of showed a red flag to us, because we were like, he's been throughout that time, he was arrested multiple times for different things. Mm-hmm. And then he got let go, or didn't even, they didn't even talk about it.
For the other things,
drunk and disorderly,
sexual
indecent
content stuff with for some of the people.
Indecent exposure, and then the 13-year-old, which was almost, I think he survived because he got away. He almost got
he ran out on the street with handcuffs.
Yeah.
And the cops had seen that part, and they were saying, "Oh, I'm just having a lover's quarrel."
But
in reality, he was underage.
Yeah, mind you, he was 13 years old, and he met him at the Baptist brothel in our terms that we would know. So he was 29 years old at the time. We figured that out, the calculation of his age, which is kind of insane to me.
Yeah,
that
with a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And he stated he was 17.
Yeah. And then when he was 15 years old, Jeffrey Dahmer apparently had a fantasy about homosexuality and wanting to plan out a murder, but he ended up not doing it at that time. Yeah. So then later on, he ended up doing it.
But anyway, that boy, he ran back. They went back to his place, and that's when he killed him. So the boy died. But if the cop would have intervened, then that would have been the second one that they would have caught him on.
Yeah. So to me, it's just like...
So there's been a lot of not downing any cops here whatsoever, but just as far as odd things happening, you really need to pursue those little things, because those little things could end up to saving somebody legitly, because reading back on this Jeffrey Dahmer and these facts has been ridiculous.
And there's been movies about him, there's been all the articles, there's been other YouTubers doing the commentary for him. And another thing that I found interesting that I've heard nobody talk about is his correlation to movies. There were two movies in particular. Star Wars fans, I'm sorry to throw this out here. He had a weird fascination for Palpatine, which is also known as the Emperor, and Satan, who was in The Exorcist 3, I believe is what he mentioned. Trial? I think so. I think he was talking about it. He said the yellow eyes, and he felt like it was in control. And to me,
no wonder he wanted to do this altar, because they talked about he wanted to put an altar up with all the heads and the skulls that this man has killed in the past years. He wanted to build this altar probably because he got that stuff from those Star Wars characters. He thought he was evil and Satan or something, and I don't know what kind of evil twisted thought that this man had in his brain. But he wanted to do an altar, he was like the god or something. He was bringing this stuff forth and was going to be like an emperor. So, creepy. Okay?
Well, he said, we also have our notes so we don't get off topic, but he said, I wrote this down for the Jedi part because it was very interesting. He said, evil, corrupt, and powerful. Ability to use special powers. And that's what he wanted. So he ended up buying yellow contacts that he would put in his eyes.
And he wanted to be the emperor.
And he even said, Jeffrey Dahmer said with a straight face, that the emperor guy was unattractive. So I don't know if he wanted to be perceived as unattractive, and then that he could like pick up somebody and be in control. And
Jeffrey Dahmer, there's no doubt in my mind, he definitely had, psychiatric issues. He had self-confidence issues, and I don't know where he got it from. Stemmed from probably from home and family, lack of fatherhood, lack of, a lot of things there growing up as a child.
Yeah.
And who knows what could have happened when he was a child with a neighbor or whoever watched him. But he definitely probably had some kind of sexual assault as a younger child boy. And that's why he is the way he was. And went after these young boys.
This is interesting though too, because they said that from like a mental health standpoint, this is why we're doing Crimes with a Twist, because we want to elaborate on not only his crimes but also like his mental
state.
They said that he gave into impulses, so that's why they said that he was borderline personality disorder. But they said he was an introvert but charming, similar to Ted Bundy.
He's very disassociate, because when you watch the videos of him at the court, he never made contact with nobody. He was just sitting there in his chair, looking down at the desk,
like this,
looking at his hands. Out of whatever. We could say out of disgrace. We could say out of just boredom, or just out of his mind. I mean, whatever you all think. I mean, this is an open discussion here.
They said that he took the blame and he knew that he was wrong. He knew it was bizarre and strange, but he liked being the one in control. He liked using the type of, I guess it was a sleeping aid. We're not going to say the name of the actual thing.
Right.
But
there was no remorse, though. I mean, you could clearly see that when he was sitting there, and he knew what he was doing. He knew everything, and they asked him if he thought it was wrong. He said at a point in time he had thought, it was bad, but he continued.
He stopped for 9 years and didn't kill anybody, and then he started back up again.
He was definitely fighting with himself, or with something that took over his body.
But they said he was diagnosed also with schizophrenia, and the thing is he didn't say he had any inside voices or delusions or any of that.
But then again, I didn't hear anybody ask him on the film at that point in time, did he hear voices? Did somebody tell him to do this? I never heard any of that.
Well,
but I'm sure he was questioned at the psychiatric place about that. But, listen to that video we listened to last night. They never asked him any of that stuff live.
But he knew that when he was at a young age, they knew that he did the things that he did to the animals, which we're not going to...
Dismembered them.
Yeah.
Killed them.
Burn them with acid. That's where
in some jars.
That's where he was introduced with the acid, was at 10 years old.
That's a young age.
At 10 years old, where was his parents?
And how do you know what acid is at 10 years old? Where did you have acid? Why did they have acid at their house? At 10 years old, you don't go out and buy acid. So it had to have been at home. Somebody had acid at the house, and what were they using that for? So, I think there's a lot of missing questions, a lot of missing things that have not been brought to light with his parents even. This stuff stemmed way back.
They said that he had a lack of empathy, he was manipulative, and he was irresponsible. So he was irresponsible because his mother wasn't present when they were raising him, and the father wasn't around.
She wasn't of sound mind.
So she may have seen him do things and thought he was a happy child, but they didn't see anything. So this case all started because of his lack of parental figures.
Parenting.
And he had severe child abuse. And it turned into him being one of the world's most, I think, gruesome serial killers out of them all.
Yeah. There's a few others. We're going to be looking into some few others, and we're going to be getting back to you guys with our thoughts on those.
Yeah.
But, for right now, just wrapping your head around all this and just reading the research, it's mind-boggling. And this stuff happens every single day. There's serial killers out there right now. People's gone missing that they have not found. They're out there right now. We don't even know who they are. There's serial killers out there. So y'all need to stay safe And, you know, when you see something odd, even if it's something bizarre, y'all need
And
to
it's
report
bizarre of the way that he died. Like, somebody else killed him in jail. And, like, they have interviews with the son of the killer that killed Dahmer. And
well, took what he...
Well, he probably heard everything that Dahmer did.
Oh, yeah,
and was
no
probably
doubt.
thinking... That could have happened to my child.
Well, he probably just went ahead and got rid of him because, you know, this is what Jeffrey Dahmer did. He went after men and he did sexual acts with men. And of course he drugged them so he wouldn't get what
taken control
he put
of.
out.
Yeah, but the thing is like back in that time frame, we weren't alive. We don't know what all happened and the lack of resources of the cops.
Right.
But at the same time, it makes you wonder, like back then, what did they have in place for protocols for stuff like this?
Not much. They went off of whatever that sheriff, whatever they wanted to do at that point in time to follow the investigation up. And let me tell you, back in that time stamp period, they don't pursue things like they pursue now. I mean, it's
like the FBI
different.
now has a groundwork to say about the motivation, the time frame of the killings, and what was the other thing they said? The motivation, time frame, and time between kills is what they use to designate a serial killer these days. So it'll be interesting.
Jeffrey Dahmer had no siblings, right?
I don't believe.
I don't believe so.
I don't believe
we have
so.
not heard. We haven't read anything about any other siblings. That would be interesting to look into to see if they turned out just the same or any other.
I do know that his father wrote like a biography book about it, about like his failures as a father and the warning signs that he wished he would have seen.
Well, and his father even wanted him to join the Air Force. Like his father's the one that said, "Yeah, you should go into the Air Force,"
and that helped him for a time being. Like from not killing, it gave him the structure. But he also developed alcoholism.
Right, and to wonder why he did. You know, there had to be thoughts and things that he was. You know,
so we don't know if he was self-medicating when he was in the military to get those feelings away or to push him to the side. We don't know because I mean he's passed away, but that would be interesting to notice. Like if somebody said, "Hey, maybe there's a correlation of why he drank so heavy." Just something we thought of.
And then too, we didn't mention he lived with his grandma for a good while. He moved out from his parents' house. Either whatever reason, maybe they thought something was strange then, and they said, "Hey, you're gonna go live with your grandma." So he
or maybe something happened in his grandmother's house. We don't know.
Yeah, something happened. But
nobody's really ever talked about that.
Yep, he lived with her, and then he got kicked out by her due to some of the things that we talked about earlier about him doing the assaults or whatever. He got in trouble, went to jail for a
getting
short
arrested.
time.
Yeah.
And then when he got out, he moved back with her, so she did let him come back. So, and he had killed, I think, 2 people while living with the grandmother.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's just crazy. I'm just wondering, you know, if the parents, the grandmother saw anything at all. Like, there's something strange with this boy. Like, or were they asleep? Did he do this stuff in the nighttime hours? Like, how do you dig up a hole in the backyard of your parents' house and bury a body? Like, and this boy was young when he did this.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
Well, they did say that he was a frequent
he worked at a candy shop too. We didn't mention that. He worked at a candy shop nighttime hours.
So he had a job and he put on the persona of being this like a normal working guy, and the whole time he worked there, he had
good work ethic.
He had a good work ethic, but he was working a night shift, and he would go out and frequently party and stuff. But he had one of the victims' body parts in a locker at his job, and they didn't even know. So situational awareness is very important to mention because
you don't know who you're working with, really. I mean, they may come across nice, but deep down,
you have to pay attention to your surroundings.
Yes.
And if something doesn't look right, they
eyes
always
and
say,
ears. Eyes and ears.
They always say, speak up if you see something off. So
eyes, ears, and nose, I should say.
Yeah. So honestly,
Lord.
Back to the surviving victim of Jeffrey Dahmer. If he would have never escaped, they probably would have never found him.
Probably not.
He probably would have been going on about his day, and it probably would have been a while until they found him. I mean, eventually they would have found out, but...
Right. I remember, too, not to get off topic with, like, other serial killers, but I'll have to look and try to find this guy. But there was a guy who did serial killing and killed a lot of people. They didn't find him until, like, he was in his 80s. I forget who this was, but they had found out that, yeah, it was this man. And he did go to jail in his 80s and died there. But I have to figure out who that man was. But that was crazy, too. I mean, just because you can kill your whole entire lifetime like that, you will get caught, like, eventually.
Yep.
So, it's crazy, but, you
But
know.
I thought that this would be a good opportunity to talk about some of the things that other people haven't talked about. Like, I know some true crime people, they talk about like all the victims stuff, but we wanted to talk about little missing pieces that we found interesting to talk about.
Yes.
Like the movie stuff, his work ethic.
Right. We find this stuff interesting because, like, I don't know about you, but I like investigation stuff and horror stuff and just, like, the horror movies in general are cool. You know, I like FBI researching, like, all that stuff. It's just fun to me, like, to get into, like, crime and trying to get, like, these cases and writing down, like, what happened and just like what we just did here. I mean, it's cool. So, get a little twist here of our take on it.
So here's our crimes with a twist.
Crimes
Surprise!
With a twist. Give us that thumbs up if y'all liked, because we're coming back and the next case is going to be better. So stay tuned.
And it won't be Ted Bundy for our second one. We're gonna do somebody that
might be somebody y'all ain't heard of.
Yeah,
So.
somebody from maybe like Ireland or Switzerland or
The Alps.
Rome. The Alps.
The
Maybe
Alps.
the Alps.
That's a good one. I could talk days and nights on the Alps people.
Maybe somebody in Europe. And if you guys have any suggestions for like people that we should look into, please let us know, because we will gladly look into this, because this is freaking awesome.
All right,
So,
and y'all give us some comments. Let us know. Come on now. And if we miss out some crazy part or facts, let us know.
This is definitely an interactive thing for us, so we want your input and your intake.
We're taking the crimes with a twist big here. This is what we like doing.
With a big bang.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye.